Hey everybody, it's Shaman Sister Sin, and you're listening to the Meditations and More podcast brought to you by BetterHelp.com and LittleShaman.org. That's me, the Little Shaman. Today I wanted to talk to you about something that a lot of people have trouble with when dealing with narcissistic personalities, so I thought we could talk about it on the show today. It's very difficult for non-pathological people who have empathy to understand the way that a narcissistic personality operates. The way they think often makes no sense, and the way they perceive things makes even less sense. People often assume that the narcissistic person is the same as they are, but they just don't care. This is true in many situations, but it's also usually a lot more than that. To assume narcissists are the same as everyone else is making a fatal error in many regards. They are not. For example, as a person with empathy, the rights and perceptions and pain of other people are real to you. These things are a consideration in your decisions. It occurs to you to think about these things and they matter in your estimation. This is not how it seems to be for narcissistic people. Intellectually, they know that these things are things, but that knowledge alone is not enough to make them matter. It's not enough to make these things real. For many people, the suffering of people in other countries, for example, is similar. It is a thing, and intellectually most people know that, but unless they've seen it or experienced it firsthand, it may never really become real for them. That's why the TV commercials that ask you to send money to help the people in these countries show video and pictures of the people they're suffering. They do that to make it real for the people who aren't there or who haven't seen it so that they can connect to it and they can feel something. Due to their lack of empathy and some other issues, this is the same sort of abstract way narcissistic personalities seem to experience the perceptions, rights, and pain of other people. They know it's a thing, but it's not real to them, therefore it doesn't really matter. The lack of empathy is one of the things that prevents them from connecting with it and with other people in general. The idea that other people's pain or rights are real to narcissists and they are deliberately choosing to ignore their empathy has been gaining some traction lately. And because narcissism is a spectrum, it is true that many narcissistic people do have some actual empathy. However, if this is true, it's not just the pain of other people that narcissists are ignoring. They would also have to be intentionally ignoring the cues we receive from empathy during regular interactions with people because many of them have extreme difficulty reading these things. Since this can lead to them making social blunders or engaging in inappropriate conversations or behavior and embarrassing themselves, it doesn't really make sense that they would do that on purpose. It seems more likely that for the narcissistic people who do have some semblance of actual empathy, survival mode just automatically switches it off. This would explain why they can appear to have some empathy in situations where they have nothing at stake or where there is no threat to them. We discussed this at length in the episode of the show entitled Through a Mirror Darkly: Pathological Narcissism and the Tragedy of Perception. It may be that the impact their actions have on other people in many situations simply does not occur to pathologically narcissistic people. They are thinking about themselves only. We assume that they've considered our feelings and dismissed them because how could they not? But the reality may be even worse than that. The reality may be that they did not dismiss our feelings about their behavior because it never even occurred to them to think about our feelings at all. Even when they are deliberately hurting other people, and many narcissistic personalities do that, there still seems to be no actual understanding of the way this truly affects the other person at all. It's still all about them. The other person is just a convenient target. They are a tool that the narcissist is using to regulate themselves, and that's it. They don't seem to have any understanding of what they have actually done, and they don't seem to care because it doesn't matter. Their feelings are what is real to them. This is hard for people with empathy to understand because your empathy just is. You don't usually have to think about it. It's just there, and you probably couldn't ignore it or somehow turn it off even if you tried. That may be why we have a tendency to think that it's that way for everybody. This does not seem to be the case. Narcissistic people genuinely don't seem to have that process, and assuming that they have it but are ignoring it assumes they could stop ignoring it if they wanted to. And maybe some of them could. However, there are many, many examples of situations where pathologically narcissistic people legitimately do not seem to understand the feelings of other people or the impact that their behavior is going to have, even when it was to their own detriment. This, of course, does not track with ignoring empathy when it benefits them, because a lot of these situations don't benefit them. They are self-sabotaging. It's very hard to fake genuine confusion and genuine surprise. Narcissistic people may display both of these when being told that their actions have hurt or impacted other people. It might pass across their faces very quickly, but you can often see it in their eyes. They really don't seem to get it, and they usually have zero curiosity about it or any desire to learn more. They just want what they want, and they want to avoid negative emotional experiences because they can't tolerate them. The rest of it is just noise. It doesn't matter. It needs to be said, though, that even if this is the case, this does not excuse their behavior. They know that hurting other people is not okay. They don't need to care about that in order to know it or to be held responsible for their hurtful behavior. They do need to care about it in order to stop themselves from doing hurtful things, however, and this is where the problem lies. Your pain is not real to them, and because of that, they don't care about it. It doesn't matter. This is where understanding these kinds of things is really important. So much of the pain in these relationships is about trying to make your feelings and your rights and your perceptions real to the narcissist in your life, and the hurt and the frustration you feel when you're not able to do that. The reality is, narcissistic people do not understand the feelings of other people, and it's not likely that they ever will. If you have to continuously reiterate to another adult person that you actually have feelings and rights and perceptions and that they actually do matter, this is a sign that this person probably really does not understand that or care. So it's probably not going to change. You do not have to tell a mature, healthy adult these things at all, let alone multiple times. Even most immature, unhealthy adults understand that. The fact that you do have to tell someone these things and then you have to remind them over and over again is a major red flag of a much, much bigger problem. It's hard to stop doing this. As a human being, you want to be understood and heard. The truth is, though, this person is not going to be able to do that for you. You're not looking for too much. You are looking for it from the wrong person. Accepting this is not easy, but it's necessary in order to be able to deal with the reality of these situations. When we can truly accept that this person cannot give us what we need, we can stop looking to them for it and stop feeling the crushing disappointment that comes from not getting it. We can talk about how unfair this can be, and that is a valid reaction that we need to acknowledge if we're having it. But at the same time, we have to try not to get too bogged down in that aspect of things because it's not going to change anything. This is where practicing acceptance is really, really helpful and necessary. Acceptance helps us to remember that it is what it is, and whether or not somebody should do something has nothing to do with whether they will or not. This is one of the many reasons we recommend no contact. If you are going to be interacting with a narcissist on a regular basis, this is going to keep coming up. It's going to keep being a problem. As we discussed in the episode of the show entitled Narcissists Are Like a Magic Trick, your brain was designed in large part to rely on what your eyes and your ears tell it, and it will continue to do that even if this contradicts something that you know to be true. Being around narcissistic people can cause your eyes and your ears to disagree with your brain because what you see from the narcissist and what you know about the narcissist might not always coincide. This can make acceptance of things much more difficult because your brain feels like it's receiving contradicting, quote, evidence due to the narcissistic personality's ability to mimic and mirror how reasonably functioning adults behave. This means that if you know someone cannot understand your feelings or perception, yet you are interacting with them on a regular basis, you're probably going to keep trying to be heard and understood by them, only to run into this same brick wall every single time. This is torturous, and it's time to stop doing it. It's not easy, but it's so much better in the long run. If you find yourself explaining to the narcissist, remind yourself that you will have better success trying to explain the color blue to someone who was born with no eyes, and stop explaining. Remind yourself that this person cannot hear what you're trying to say, but it doesn't matter because they don't need to acknowledge your feelings for your feelings to be valid, for your rights, for your perceptions to be valid. This is not easy, and you will feel discomfort over it, but it will pass. You're mature enough to tolerate discomfort, and remember, the discomfort you feel from that is nothing compared to the pain and the frustration of trying to explain and trying to be heard, only for it to go absolutely nowhere. Or worse, for it to be mocked, misunderstood, for it to be turned against you, for it to be turned around on you. This person simply does not have the context or the ability to understand what you're saying, and they have no reason to care anyway. It's not real to them, and you cannot make it real to them because nothing is real to them except what they want and how they feel in each single individual moment. If you cannot leave the situation or you're not ready to leave yet, remembering that can go a long way toward helping ease some of the terrible pain involved in these relationships. I hope that clears a few things up for you. As always, I look forward to your comments, questions, and suggestions, so please keep those coming. I take appointments online over the phone, via text, via messenger, via email, and through Skype worldwide. So if you're interested in speaking with me one-on-one, you can visit littleshaman.org to do that. I teach workshops, clinics, and seminars several times throughout the year. So if you're interested in seeing what we're running this month, you can visit littleshaman.org to do that. And if you're interested in joining our support group with multiple monthly meetings, access to exclusive content, and a guaranteed spot in monthly workshops, you can do that on littleshaman.org as well. You've been listening to the Meditations and More podcast brought to you by betterhelp.com and littleshaman.org. That's me, the Little Shaman. May the Great Spirit bless you. Have a beautiful day.